We are back. Unauthorized opinions. Unauthorized opinions. It never gets old, the new theme song. Welcome back. It's 2025 still. You haven't been dreaming. TikTok, LA wildfires. Women's marches are still happening. Lots to get to today. You may have saw me on Newsmax this past week, and I want to address something on there that I said about New York City Mayor Eric Adams getting his eyebrows done. What I said was, in response to Eric Adams going out and getting his eyebrows threaded on television and admitting that he usually waxes his eyebrows himself, I mentioned on Newsmax that I didn't think it was the most heterosexual thing to do. And I would like to retract that statement. I said it's not indicative of the most heterosexual lifestyle for a man to be bragging, not only conducting an eyebrow threading or waxing, but to be showcasing that on television and talking about it. I said that it wasn't the most heterosexual lifestyle. I'd like to withdraw those comments and apologize to all Italians and Portuguese guys out there, perhaps even some Syrian guys, some Lebanese guys, who think it's very not only manly but necessary as a lifestyle to get their eyebrows waxed and perhaps their chest as well. I would be more forgiving of a good old chest wax. I mean, you can justify it with swimmers, professional wrestlers, trapeze artists, gymnasts. You could justify it with a lot of professions. But the eyebrow threading, it doesn't increase aerodynamicness in terms of swimming. It doesn't prevent hairs from being pulled while grappling on the ground. It's just a manly thing that manly men like to do. And who am I to denigrate the Persian, Italian, Portuguese society when I say it's not the most heterosexual thing to do? So I'd like to withdraw those comments officially and resubmit them with an asterisk, which says, except for those living next to an ocean. Portuguese, Italians, Persian, maybe some Gulfs, stuff like that. We are knee-deep into a TikTok ban. And I said to my friends yesterday, it seems to me like the play will be that given that there is this 90-day caveat in the bill, that if they're given an offer or they would like to consider, divesting or being bought out by somebody, they get an extension of 90 days. I said this was going to be a great move, a simple political move, where they announce this ban, and then Trump swoops in and he says, I'm a lovely person, I'm going to lift your TikTok ban, and that's exactly what happened today. TikTok said Sunday it is restoring its service after a ban in the United States initially began to take effect earlier in the day. And in agreement with our service providers, TikTok is in the process of restoring service. We thank President Trump for providing the necessary clarity and assurance to our service providers that they will face no penalties providing TikTok to over 170 million Americans and allowing 7 million small businesses to thrive, the company said in a statement. It's a strong stand for the First Amendment and against arbitrary censorship. We will work with President Trump on a long-term solution that keeps TikTok in the United States. It popped up on the app on Sunday. So that's what they're referring to there. And Kevin O'Leary talked about this, that if TikTok, he's offering TikTok, I think it was a few $1 billion for him to become the owner. And I'm sure another company full of wonderful people. But for them to buy it from TikTok and put it in the United States, of course. And if they are to do that, if they want to review that in the legislation, I believe there's a 90-day extension for them to review this. When I was also talking on a show the other day, TikTok ban came up, and I thought about all the different sides, and the person I was on the show with, which was Christine Clark, a TikTok creator, YouTuber, Turning Point USA, I think. She has amassed a large following on there, and she doesn't want to see her business go under. Now, I've been through this. I've been through being having a business or just really, a large following swooped up from under me on YouTube. So I feel like I've personally gone through this. Now, YouTube didn't get taken down, but it was an arbitrary crushing of souls that happened back in 2019. So I can relate to that, I think. So the angles on this seem to be, from one side, there are businesses being ruined, people's livelihoods being taken away. I get that. I sympathize with that 100%. You have a reason to be upset. The other angle is the China angle, right? Taking keystrokes, purposely feeding bad algorithms to you to promote certain agendas. And then you have the other side, which is the opposite of that, which says America and its companies are doing that anyways. They're pushing stuff on you. They're stealing your data. And all the same things TikTok is doing, except it's from an American companies. And then you sort of have the government angle where they would like to suppress one side would like to suppress things about Palestine. Another side would like to suppress things about Israel. This is better for YouTube and X and all these other companies if a competitor in TikTok is shut down. We have that government angle that I don't think anyone's going to agree with, where they're doing it for censorship reasons and their own, political agendas. We can sort of axe that from the conversation, I think. But I think what people get wrong in this conversation is the idea that China is not worse than the U.S. government. So let's say YouTube or Google gets caught taking your data and doing nefarious things with it. They get caught stealing your keystrokes, giving away your identity, giving away your social security number, for example. You can take proper legal action against them. With a Chinese company, now I understand there's TikTok in America, but ByteDance, their parent company, is in China. And good luck getting some sort of grounds against them of, revealing what data they've taken from you, revealing their algorithm. Long story short, if ByteDance wants to hide anything they want from you, they can do so. Now, TikTok USA, they might have to face sanctions. They might have to face this, that, and the other. Legal penalties, monetary penalties. They will pay that. But if it comes down to it, and they're like, we want to seize your servers, we want to see your algorithm, we want to see what data you've taken from people, they're obviously going to say, we're going to be pulling out from America now, or you're not going to be getting this. So in my mind, it's the United States taking action first. Because they could go and do that. They can say, we want all this from you, and they would say, this is illegal and what you're doing. But if they had legal grounds to do so, China would just be like, well, see ya. We've got everything we need for now. And we'll just catch you next time with a new, very cool social media platform. So that's what I'm seeing. People want to compare it to the American companies. And yes, data stealing is happening. I don't know the specifics, but I'm quite certain the censorship is there on Meta and YouTube and even X at this point. It's all there. It's all pushing algorithms against you, but that is, in a sense, a domestic problem. And let me explain. If YouTube as a company or Instagram as a company wants to push the views that, puberty blockers are awesome, or men should be in women's sports, or even that Mike Tyson threw the fight against Jake Paul, if they want to push this stuff, they are pushing their viewpoint from the United States in the United States. When a foreign government comes in and says, we want to push these political viewpoints in your country to kind of mess you guys up and push all this weird stuff on TikTok and kind of mess with your kids' minds, I don't think that is a right thing. I don't think that another country gets to decide the discourse in your country, if that makes sense. They don't get to come in and secretly, maybe not so secretly, push furries and obesity and vamp life and werewolf life and wolf pack life. They are doing this because they want to cause chaos. Russia is very good at this. They're not as effective en masse, but Russia gets the memes more so than any foreign adversary, way more than China. China just says this is some messed up stuff you've got going on here. You've got polyamorous relationships between people who believe they are cats. That seems insane. Let's push that to them to make it up. Well, as we all know, in China, you don't get that stuff. Russia, on the other hand, they get it and they push it. They don't just say this is the most messed up looking stuff. They know how to pretend as if they're a memester from the United States. If you follow RT on Twitter, you can see that they're operating like a cool, edgy influencer. So when a foreign country says, let's get everybody addicted to a social media app in this country and push the things that will purposely mess them up, I think that's a bad thing. You can fight these battles within your borders, but when it comes to a foreign adversary doing it purposely to harm you, then that's a different story. In my opinion, I completely sympathize with the people who have built a following on there, even though I believe at least half of it is fake. I believe the numbers are heavily inflated. They don't have to answer to anyone for that. They can just say, these are the amounts of people, or they can spam their thing with bots that you'll never be able to get to the bottom of, because there are patents and programs out there that are meant to act like people, meant to look like people. And especially on TikTok, if you're just clicking on a profile, you're going to have no idea that it's not a real person. So I don't believe that half of it is real traffic. Not that that matters in advertising anyway. It's all a circulation of money. Ask Bud Light. But I don't think it's right for another company to be doing that in your country. You should have a problem with that. If I came to the United States and said, you guys should be talking more about maple syrup and igloos and Justin Trudeau's hair, you'd probably just be like, get out. And I see that a lot on X anyways. When foreign people are talking about U.S. politics, they say, what are you doing? What do you have to gain here? Why don't you talk about your own country ever? And get the hell out. That's what TikTok is doing. But I think the missing angle here is, and again, the people who have businesses that are suffering have a point that the government's sort of shutting it down. Why did they shut it out in the first place? I think that there's a lot of people that are saying, especially at the grassroots level, I like my thing, don't take away my thing. And a lot of them are conservatives, because if you remember a few years ago, the conservative thing was to say, hey, China bad, taking keystrokes, stealing information, don't use TikTok. And then one person used TikTok, then 11 persons used TikTok, and then all of a sudden hardcore conservatives are bragging about their recipes on TikTok. Okay? Same things happened with this Instagram Threads thing. It's stupid. It's trying to compete with Twitter. It's left-wing Twitter. It'll never work. Then conservative person A starts posting on it, B, C, whatever. People can't help themselves. So I think that's a big factor there. And if you recall this app called Vine, which was basically TikTok before it, where it was 7-second videos, and it got shut down for business reasons, people were complaining about it, and people were complaining it was because they liked Vine. So people will complain because they like TikTok, or they make money off of TikTok, and then they'll form all these opinions around it. My personal opinion at the end of it is, China do equal bad mon, and China do want take monies, and China do want take information, and bad dem taking all me mandem's info. And if the U.S. does that, we have legal repercussions about them. I thought Dave Portnoy had a good take on this, and his was more so about the censorship aspect of it, and I thought it was pretty good.
All right, do a real quick walk and talk TikTok ban. I've already talked about this. I got to talk about it again. Right now, TikTok's banned. Trump's saying they're going to give them a 90-day extension. Hopefully they figure something out. But honestly, this entire situation makes me want to puke. I really fucking hate it. It's not because Barstool's going to lose out. I probably use TikTok the least of any of the platforms. Barstool's been around 20 years. We're platform agnostic. It actually probably would help because it get rid of a lot of competition. So that's not it. I just hate, this reminds me of COVID in a way, when the government's just poof, and cut the legs out of so many businesses. You can't open your doors, you can't do business, we got to protect you. There are so many creators, small businesses, who have worked for years to build their livelihoods, their careers on TikTok. You finally become successful and the government's like, poop, sorry, cut your legs out. You're done. We don't trust the Chinese. I know you've been working for 3 years to build your livelihood. You're out of luck. Go try to rebuild it on a different platform, which is virtually impossible. Go get a normal 9 to 5. That's bullshit. I fucking hated it. Same vibe as COVID, like the government playing daddy and being like, sorry, peace, you're out, your business, your livelihood. We have to protect you from you. Bullshit. I hate it. And the government, all these old fucking congressmen, senators, they have no idea how many people have built their livelihoods on TikTok. So it's disgusting to me. They can snap their fingers and just ruin these people's lives, basically. So that's one. Two, the government, this theory that the government has to protect us from the Chinese, like it's a safety issue. They can control elections, disinformation, get their messages across, sway the American people. All right, maybe they can do that if they wanted to, because I'm not buying they get the data from people, the DeMellos doing a fucking wiggle dick dance and shit like that. Who fucking cares? What are you going to do with that? But that you can sway the message, the information. So only, I guess, the American government can do that, right? Because that's what they've been doing. Like, and by the way, every single media outlet has an agenda.
So I think he's got a great point there. It does feel like a form of censorship, but again, I have to sort of stick to my guns on this in regards to there is a difference between a foreign adversary doing it and a domestic, I don't know if you want to call it an adversary doing it as well. And I just want to remind people the sort of stuff that is out there on social media currently. I want to remind people about what they may be missing out on when they open one of these apps. And think about the fact that there is this battle going on for your mind, let's say, to cite Alex Jones. There's this battle going on about how terrible this stuff actually is for you. And we can look at Instagram, who now has an AI studio where you can talk to an AI about nothing. And they're encouraging you to talk to AI characters. Featured as a magic 8-ball. Welcome, Seeker of Truth. Ask your question. We won't tell you to be trans, we swear. Here are some AI characters. And I think it's interesting that they're all Indian. Kushi, he's always here to listen. And by the way, this is from my page, so I don't know who official Sara Bayadev is. You can talk to Tanu, who's speaking in some foreign language, an astrologer AI with an Indian person. You can talk to a character called My Girlfriend, which is an Indian person. I'm your best friend till the end. Or Jenny Kim, who's a K-pop idol. Or even Stepsis Sarah, who will teach you sibling love with drama guaranteed. These are the types of things that you're missing out on, and this is on Instagram. This is how little they care about you. Big suck. Let alone ask a girl anything. Clearly not creepy at all. Relationship coach. Talk to an AI version of a mom. This is not insane behavior. You're talking to an AI version of a person that's supposed to be your mom. You're totally not eating nail polish. You're totally not sniffing glue. This is normal behavior. You can talk to the Joker. Not going to breed any serial killers. You're going to talk to Spider-Man. I guess he might be the most wholesome person ever, but when do you just get to have a conversation with Spider-Man? Even in Spider-Man's world, never. The Dark Knight, a guy bent on revenge who's afraid of bats and his parents were murdered. Interesting choice. You go ahead and talk to some anime characters, even a naked woman who says love is in the air, senpai. This is completely, it's followed by Fluffy Mom Zero or Fluffy Momo with 2 zeros. This is completely normal behavior, as you can imagine. Everybody just talks to AIs that are their mom or that looking to get advice from a robo girlfriend. Completely normal behavior. And if the U.S. government was to come out and say the Chinese government is putting out mom AIs and girlfriend AIs and finding out what bothers people and what makes them go insane with their Joker AI, and they shut that down. They said, this is China's doing. There would be people to say, hey, you're doing some censorship here by removing my Chinese mom AI. And they would have a point, but also there's a point to be made here about how China is trying to get you to think that you're married to an anime character, for example. I don't know where the line is here at this point. But what I do know is you probably shouldn't be doing this. If you're an adult person who's not making money off of these things, you shouldn't really be addicted to them. You shouldn't really be that affected by a social media platform being taken down. And I understand it's a free speech aspect of it, but a lot of this we do know is from a narcissistic angle, and for those of us who are making money off of social media, I am not. So you take away TikTok, I don't particularly mind. I may like some of these things, but I just think a form of Twitter kind of needs to exist, where people can go on and share news and stuff like this. They say Twitter is used for so many things, but it's predominantly used for news, for updates. It's not used to share your pictures very much. It can share video as well, but it's not. People aren't watching full podcasts on Twitter. There needs to be some sort of form of Twitter and YouTube out there. Do we need TikTok and Instagram? No, we don't. That's an honest statement that we all know to be true. Will somebody else come up with something? Of course. But while there's monopolies in these spaces, let's just, take a step back and realize that AI anime girlfriend's probably not good for you. I want to share this video now from the Riley Gaines Center and a couple of other former female athletes, current female athletes. They went out to a women's march, which is still a thing apparently, and they started talking to people about what's important to them equality-wise. And I think you're going to notice that these women were doomed from the start, given they do not look like freaks. And that was their biggest mistake. Let's see if we can get this a bit bigger. Maybe that'll work. Let's see what they had to say. I know this one's Caitlin Wheeler. I'm not sure the other girl's name, but this is them at the Women's March. It's still going on. Let's take a look.
Do you believe in equality for all people, including women?
Yes. Yes,
absolutely. That's why we're here.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely. I think equality is an important thing just for humanity.
Absolutely, yes. Should men and women have equal rights and opportunities when it comes to jobs and scholarships?
Of course.
Yes.
Yes. Of course, yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yes. Yes, of course.
Okay, what about when it comes to sports?
Absolutely.
Do you think men should be allowed to compete in women's sports?
Do you mean men who identify as male?
Just men.
Just men. That's a good question. I think it depends on the sport.
Do you think that men that are currently competing in women's sports, do you believe that's fair to the women who have worked essentially their entire lives for certain achievements?
Pussy hats, guys. Pussy hats.
We're gonna take care.
Okay, what about it?
Let's pay attention. In the background there, we've got a guy who's saying, pussy hats for sale. Come on, Kamal, get your pussy hats over here. Like he's at a baseball, like he's at Fenway Park walking down the aisles with a bag of peanuts. He's hawking pussy hats. Nothing wrong with that. Nobody thinks they're crazy with their transgender black power fist on their sign. This is 10 years removed. There are still, for those who are still going out and doing this, why? Why are you doing this to yourselves? Why are we playing this game? Why are we going out with the signs in 2025 and thinking, I'm not going to become a meme? I'm still not the crazy person. The world hasn't pointed to people like me for a decade now and said that I'm crazy. These people will go. Maybe that's the plan. Maybe the plan is to go to these rallies and then go see yourself on screen, bypass the stuff where everybody's pointing at you and commenting that you're insane and being like, look, I made a TikTok video. I'm in this video about being insane. I'm not going to talk about that I seem insane, but look, I made this video. I'm making an insane point. I can't tell you that men are stronger than women. I'm famous now. I'm a personality. Maybe that's the point that I'm missing here, but I just wonder what's going through the minds of these people still at this point, to be like equality. Oh my God. Free Palestine, gays for Palestine.
When it comes to sports.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Do you think that men should be allowed to compete in women's sports?
I think that women should be able to compete in women's sports, and that's an identification that we all find ourselves.
Yes, anyone who identifies as a woman. Okay.
If a man identifies as a woman and gets a job or scholarship meant for a woman, is that fair?
Yes.
If that person truly is a trans woman, then yes, they are a woman, they deserve it.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yes.
I think it is.
And is it hypocritical to say that women deserve equal opportunity, but then support a male taking something meant for a woman?
Absolutely not.
No, trans rights are human rights. All humans deserve a space at all tables.
All humans deserve a space at all tables. Do I deserve a space at a trans table, for example? Obviously. Let us all start this by going and saying, well, I identify as trans, now I'm going to take your position. That's what these girls need to start doing. Oh, you identify as a woman? Well, I also am a woman who identifies as a trans woman. So not only am I an actual woman, a biological woman, but I'm also identifying as a man. I'm a woman. This is what they need to do. Let's make this clear. I'm a woman who identifies as a biological male who identifies as a trans woman. So not only am I a woman, I identify as a trans woman too. So I've basically defeated you in this theory of pathological lying and insanity. You know, one of these guys is going to come up and be like, and they're going to be like, so you're a very good volleyball player and you say you identify as a woman? Yes, I identify as a woman. Why would you take my opportunity away from me? Well, that's well and good, but I also have 13 other female volleyball players who identify as men who identify as women. So we kind of can't use that anymore. Every person who's tried out for the team believes they are a man who identifies as a woman, and they identify as that. So, you know, that might just end us up in the same place where we were before. I don't know if that's going to work. These girls' mistakes here was going up dressed in, what's one of them's wearing a sweater here. The other one's wearing a regular coat. You know, their hair's done. None of them have bowl cuts. None of them are 350 pounds. They could smell them from a mile away. They could smell their deodorant. You know how, like, you know, you go certain places and you can smell some BO. You can hear some heavy breathing. The same is true in the reverse. They can see that these girls have washed their hair and haven't recently eaten 2 chili cheese burritos, and they know what's coming at this point. Like I said, they've faced this so often that they go out there so that they can be in these compilations. That is a point of solace in itself. When I was a kid, there was a guy who everybody used to get mad at for faking injuries in sports, but he learned that faking the injuries would get him the attention. That's what's happening here. They're going to these rallies because you calling them insane and putting them in these videos is their best form of attention. I applaud them for it. I'm thinking about doing the same thing myself. And I think we need 17 more women's marches. This is how it's going to happen. If you guys didn't see, Snoop Dogg performed, I believe, at a Trump-related ball, and people are pointing out his hypocrisy. I didn't see this till it came out, but now people are pointing out what Snoop Dogg said a few years ago as compared to today. And the difference is a little bit shocking. The difference is a little bit stark. And I think Snoop Dogg's onto something here.
So ain't nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you jigaboo ass niggas gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the fuck out one of you Uncle Tom ass niggas for doing it. Which one of you niggas gonna do it first? Osby's the one that performs for himself.
At about noon, just thought that I had to be in Compton soon. I got before the day began.
So that's Snoop Dogg pretending to be a DJ 7 years ago, saying that he's going to make fun of anybody who performs for Trump. And don't forget, he also did this. So that's him depicting the president at the time as a clown, whom he then kills, or I guess fake kills, with a gun that says bang. And now we are 7 years later, and he is performing at one of his balls. Now, he wasn't really performing, he was pressing buttons, but this is the whole celebrity dichotomy we find ourselves in, where people want to believe their celebrities are a bit more reasonable, pay attention to politics, when they do not. When favorite celebrity or musician or actor or whatever starts parroting your favorite talking points, you're just like, this is awesome. And you want to believe that you are justified because this person is on your side, and, you're like, Snoop Dogg gets it, okay? But when they change their opinion, or their opinion is not what you hope it would be, you either try to justify it, or if they change it to what you agree to, then they're like, they finally saw the light. And I think what people are noticing about a lot of corporations, Mark Zuckerberg is one corporation with Meta, Bud Light sort of did this. There's lots of companies who are now saying, YouTube is taking off its content warning on the bottom of videos of like climate change or whatever, election fraud, all these content warnings. And people are rightfully wanting to say, well, looks like they've just come to their senses. Snoop Dogg, it's been 7 years. Maybe he just came to his senses. I think the reality here is we are seeing for the first time, as people who pay attention to this sort of stuff, that a lot of businesses and companies blow with the wind in order to stay relevant to keeping money. Ideally, they would just stay out of it and try to put out good content regardless of who is in office. But we're seeing giant companies, and maybe this is Snoop Dogg, maybe he's been convinced, maybe he's changed his opinions at 50-something years old, down in the dog pound. I don't know. But we've been seeing companies and personalities flip-flop after saying Trump is Hitler, and now all of a sudden they are saying Trump is Jesus Christ, for example. And all of a sudden Zuckerberg loves you. So I think people are just starting to realize, like, this is the first time we've had a full cycle where we can see the flip. Maybe it happened under Reagan. Reagan to Clinton to Bush. Maybe that was something that happened. I'm not sure about that. Maybe it was something that happened with Bush to Obama. But they did make fun of the Bushes a lot on television and not so much Obama. So we can hope that they've changed their mind, but I don't think it's wise. I think what's happening is people are realizing who exactly doesn't have any true beliefs, doesn't have any actual foundation that they rely upon, and they will just go with whatever's popular at the time. I don't know about Snoop Dogg. I know he has been bad-mouthing Trump for a lot of years, but I also knew in the last election in 2020, he talked shit about him less. And now he's probably talking shit about him even less. I don't know. I know that Lil Wayne came out and supported Trump. I know that Exhibit has talked about liking Trump for many years now. And there's a lot of rappers who have liked Trump through 50 Cent, through these many years. But people are going to start to notice now. It was a big problem for Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden in 2016, these types of people, that the internet existed. They could have these opinions from 2002 to 2016 where they said, illegal immigration is bad, abortion is bad, all these right-wing talking points allegedly, and then just immediately flip over when it became no longer the popular thing. And you want people to believe that in like their 50s and 60s, all of a sudden these lifelong held beliefs They're changing them, and that's just not happening. That really worked against the Democrats. It sucks when history is recorded for the people that want to flip-flop on it. So is Snoop Dogg changing his mind? I don't know. I would put it at, like, if we're doing betting odds, plus 200 that Snoop Dogg actually changed his mind, because he's got to be a smart guy. He's been relevant for so long. I would hope he's not just doing this because he's a sniveling scumbag. I would hope that maybe he's just like, you know what, I was actually wrong. It'd be interesting to see if somebody asked him this. And I want to point to a different celebrity who I think is very guilty of not the same thing, but along similar lines, and that's Bill Burr. Now, if you grew up watching some Bill Burr, he's very, and I categorize it as Gen X comedy and Gen X opinion taking, and not all of them, of course. I feel like my older brother kind of used to be in this same boat, but he, his algorithm got affected by the alt-right, allegedly, and he started seeing that there is sides that can be taken on some issues, and we're all the same way. We all want to be this centrist. Everybody wants to be this middle of the ground person who's super fair, but there is a right and a wrong on a lot of things. And I think what Bill Burr has done over the years, and what I've seen him doing, is saying, I want to be able to talk about controversial topics, but I don't want to feel like I am wrong about them, and I don't want people to think I'm taking sides. So what he'll do is he'll do this thing where when confronted with a controversial topic, he'll say, I don't know he'll give an opinion, and then when he's pressed on that opinion, he'll say, I don't know what I'm talking about, but neither do you, and neither does anybody on the internet, so we should just side with the experts, we should just side with the establishment. And I've got two examples here for you where Bill Burr sort of covers his support of the status quo here. So the first is on Jimmy Kimmel that happened just a few days ago, where they're talking about the wildfires. And Jimmy, and, this has been a highly criticized thing, not something that should be talked about on a comedy show, for example, more like a podcast segment. Jimmy Kimmel's not funny. Bill Burr is funny, but he admits that he doesn't know about these things, but he also says other people can't know either. So let's watch.
It's very good to see you. I heard you had to evacuate your home.
Yes. Like most people, I had to. I got lucky, the winds moved, but, the fire was coming and all that stuff. So I feel lucky.
Are you guys back in?
And I think everybody did a great job.
Yeah.
Unlike the internet,
Yeah, right. I know. It's right.
Oh, my God. All of these fire experts. Why didn't you just fly a helicopter into the ocean and then just, I don't know, because there was 100-knot winds? You want to do that? You want to do that at night, you lunatic?
How are you?
This was definitely mismanaged.
That's a big word we're hearing now.
Mismanaged, like some idiot on the internet knows how to manage the worst fire in LA, sitting there in his underwear. You know what? Looking at the footage on the internet, I have determined that this here was mismanaged.
So that's example number one of Bill Burr, where he says, all at once, nobody on the internet knows what they're talking about, but actually I have some additional information. So nobody can be an expert, but here's my information that I've learned about the winds that make this a bad claim, this vague internet claim. Your claim is wrong. I have some information, but at the same time, you couldn't possibly know. I know enough to know that you don't know, is what he's saying. And saying, I think everybody did a good job. You are a comedian from Boston and a cajillionaire. Where are your expertise to even talk about it? You say other people can't talk about it, but you're just like, well, I know that flying into the ocean or flying to get water from the ocean at 100-knot winds is not good. So I know through what I've learned online, unless he went and spoke to pilots, maybe he did, helicopter pilots, he can make a statement of fact and say this is a bad judgment, but other people can't. I don't understand. And it's when he did this on Joe Rogan, it was far worse because he was talking about COVID stuff, and you're going to see when Joe Rogan actually starts to challenge him in order to not have a defense. And this is, I'm sorry to say Gen X comedy. You'll see it in older radio hosts. The type of comedy where it's like, I don't really say anything, but I insult somebody, but then I say I'm also dumb, and there's a lot of swearing involved. That's exactly what Bill Burr does. That's why he appeals to that demographic, sort of like a, I'm going to say a goonish demographic he appeals to, which is fine. There's some goon comedy I like, but if, I think comedy has moved past this. The audiences have moved past this of who absorbs mainstream comedy, or at least most popular comedians. My point is that whenever he's faced with having to know about a topic, he just falls back into, well, I don't know, so you couldn't possibly know either. We're all idiots. How dare you suggest that you could know anything?
It's just fucking creepy to have guys like Mayor Garcetti be in charge of telling people whether or not they get to work. Like, that's not what a governor's supposed to be. That's not what a mayor's supposed to be.
But they're trying to look out for your best interests and trying to get 400 million people to all pull in the same direction. It's fucking...
Right away, the premise is flawed that the government is trying to look out for your best interests. If you think that about your government, you can maybe say that for a municipal government, probably not even there. That is a flawed premise to say that basically the government loves you. And I don't know... Like, this isn't a clip from 2005. This is a guy in, 2018 or something saying... Or, sorry, 2020... saying the government wants to take care of you. Based on the best interests. Definitely not based on vaccine companies. Definitely not based on gigantic corporations like Walmart and everything that stayed open. Tra-la-la, you know what happened. It's crazy talk.
You can't get 40 comics to pull in the same direction. So
but they did.
They have an impossible... Well, they did and they didn't. There was people fucking right the whole fucking time. There's been fucking assholes on my street walking around, no masks, not quarantining like the people that come by the houses. You see the fucking, the same people that were going in and out of the house who are not part of their family still going in and out of the house.
You want people to...
He's promoting mask wearing outside. No recorded cases of COVID ever outside. No recorded benefits to mask wearing. It's all just been basically makes no difference. So without knowing anything here, he has made these claims. Mask wearing outside, not quarantining good, all because the government said so. And then in a second you'll see it's okay for him to make these claims, but as soon as claims are challenged, he's like, well, I don't know anything, and neither do you.
To walk down the street with a mask on?
Let's not start this, John.
Do you, though?
Let's not start this. Okay.
Let's start it.
I don't want to start this bullshit. I'm not going to sit here with no medical degree, listening to you with no medical degree, with an American flag behind you, smoking a cigar, acting like we know what's up better than the CDC. All I do is I watch the news once every 2 weeks. I'm like, mask or no mask? Still mask? All right, mask. That's all I give a fuck about. I don't care.
But even they say you shouldn't wear a mask unless you're treating.
He says he doesn't care, yet he says people not wearing masks are assholes. And I tune into the news every couple of weeks to do what I'm told. That's insane behavior for an adult. That's like being an employee. I check my email. I see what my boss says. Does he say use this computer program or use the other one? I just use whatever. Microsoft Word, text edit, whatever. I just use whatever. Insane behavior from an adult. To be like, I just turn on the news and do what I'm told. That's the highest amount of privilege you can have because you're a millionaire and it doesn't really matter. You're just going to follow the rules because you have your money.
A coronavirus patient. The World Health Organization.
Yeah, but they didn't say that initially. They didn't say it initially.
No, they didn't.
They did. And then it gradually, and then wait. And then everybody wore the fucking masks. This is like rollerblading. Everybody fucking rollerbladed, and then there was that one fucking homophobic joke, and then everybody acted like they never did it. And then 100 million fucking rollerblades got thrown into the fucking ocean. We all wore masks. And then all of a sudden, people are fucking sitting there. What? You don't have the body type for it, dude. Your fucking knuckles would scrape on the ground.
That's funny.
Even with that extra 2 inches. I just love how wearing a mask became like this fucking soft thing that you were doing, being courteous.
Bitches.
Being courteous. Why is it for bitches?
It's courteous. So he doesn't. We went from wear the mask to I don't care about it to I do what I'm told to they said that before and now it's just being courteous. Do what the government says out of courtesy. This is insane. 4 years later or however long it is later, and this is still this insane to hear.
It's so stupid.
First of all,
oh God, you're so tough with your fucking open nose and throat, Chicho, and your 5 o'clock shadow. This is a man right here. A man doesn't wear a mask. Why does it always become like that? It's always like the man versus the bitch.
That's what men do. We make fun of things, anything that seems like you're not taking chances, right? That's what
I don't have a problem with that. Unless you were already wearing the mask and then you're acting like you didn't. And all of a sudden people watch your thing and then they all pile on, oh, look at this bitch wearing the mask. It's like, you were fucking doing it 2 weeks ago.
But this is not what he said. He said walking around without masks like assholes. How does he know if they were mask wearers before or not? This doesn't make any sense. And he's always trying to turn it into this, oh, it's this macho thing. This is how a man tries to appeal to a feminine or like more mainstream audience, which is driven a lot of the time by women. He says, oh, this is... people used to say rollerblading was gay and people stopped rollerblading. No, that this did not happen. Rollerblading was in the X Games. There's still people who rollerblade. I'm not one of them. I did it when I was 12 or whatever, and 13. But people didn't stop rollerblading because people said it was gay. This is just how he frames it so he doesn't have to explain things. It's actually something mean that explains it, so therefore I don't have to have a real conversation or a real opinion about it. Why did people stop rollerblading? Because of homophobia. Why did people stop wearing masks? Because they're assholes who are inconsiderate. Why are they wearing masks now? Because the government told them to, and they didn't want to do it before, but now they're flip-floppers. It's never, like, he's never wrong. It's just that somebody else is saying something that has improperly influenced them. They want to be macho. They want to flip-flop. They don't want to be called gay. It's just like, it's weird that he's influenced this much by the government, especially as a successful man. I think it's a defense mechanism to not be able to appeal to a broader audience. If he doesn't do this, then he's not going to have both sides watching him. And if that's his calculated move, that's sad. I don't like that. If it's just an oblivious thing, then he needs to start, being forced to have these conversations, or at least hanging around other men that have these conversations. I don't think he does. He talks about being alone all the time. His podcast, I think it was just audio for a long time. Doesn't want to, I don't see him on a lot of, buddy podcasts, which is you don't have to. I don't like, traveling either, but it's just weird. It's just weird for an adult man to be this susceptible, and when he doesn't know something, he's just like, well, you can't know. The only reason you do it is because somebody else told you. That's why he does what he's doing. He does things because he's told to, so that's how he feels other people must make their decisions too.
Well, I was scared out of my mind in the beginning. Like when when everybody's shutting down in the beginning and people are stockpiling food, I was convinced. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Dude, you have like 9 elk in your basement. You were the one person I knew was fine. Tom Papa's making bread.
I've got plenty of food.
I knew he was fine.
That's not what I was worried about. I was worried about people I knew getting really sick and dying. And then I was convinced that I had it. At one point in time, I was like, God, I do feel like I'm breathing heavy. I felt like my breath is my breath is coming short. I did. I had like psychosomatic issues
who's the bitch,
thinking about it.
Now
I got
who's
over
the
it,
bitch?
though. I got over it.
Guy had a fucking panic attack sitting on fucking 12 elk. You had a fucking panic attack.
In the sauna.
And then you felt bad about yourself, and then you attack people with masks. That's how it works. And that's how the hatred starts. And that's right now why 7 blocks to Seattle, you can't go now and get yourself.
See, he's still funny. I just wish he wouldn't do this stuff. Oh, what are you going to do? You don't got to watch him. That's the lesson here. You don't got to watch it. You don't got to be on TikTok. You don't have to consume this stuff if you really don't want to. And I do understand that people had jobs taken away from them, but in the beginning we were all like, no TikTok because China bad. And then eventually it turned into, well, I want to use TikTok too. And then there's a certain sect of people who were just like, well, actually TikTok's the good guys. Everybody else is censoring themselves. And, I'd have to put that in the ridiculous category to be like, TikTok's not the bad guy. TikTok's actually the good, China good, actually. Come on now. If I had a miniature Chinese flag, I'd be waving it right now. UnAuthorizedOpinions.com, UOPod.com, Patreon.com/UOPod, Rumble, Twitter, YouTube, and Spotify and all the other streaming companies. We love you. Please like it and subscribe. Share it on every platform if you don't mind. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please give it a like. Please make sure you've given a good review, because we appreciate you. The steady audience on Spotify, for those listening to the very end, I really appreciate you guys. You know, I look at the numbers and I say, I can't believe that there's even this amount of people listening consistently and caring what I have to say. You know, it's been a long road for me. It's 2025 now. I'm like 6 years into the game, I want to say, of politics. You know, if you want to count some early YouTube years, we could go up to 2017, so like 8 years. But really, like, maybe a bit more. Probably 6 or 7 years, regardless. There's been so many ups and downs, and I've been through the TikTok thing with YouTube. It sucks, but what you have to do is you have to try to insulate yourself from those things. As a man, as if you're providing for yourself or your family, your goal needs to be, how can I insulate myself from being canceled, from losing opportunities? And it's tough because it's just one rug pull away, and I've been there. So try to diversify your portfolio, as Snoop Dogg would say. I wish you all the best. I wouldn't lie to you except for maybe this once. My shirt says, "What's better than great?" and then it says me. It's a shameless ad.